Hey guys, I'm Sam from livethewhole.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about emotional eating. So all of livethewhole.com is geared towards helping you understand your emotional eating and work towards having a happier, healthier relationship with food. So today's presentation offers just a little introduction, like a really small baby step to get you started on the road to having a happier, more free relationship with food. So we're going to talk about why you're emotionally eating, and then give you some really actionable baby steps to start taking to ease yourself out of that out of control place that you're in with food. So if you need more after this video, there is a downloadable ebook underneath, and then also up the top there's the option to click and find out more about working with me. So let's jump over to the slideshow and get stuck into finding out what emotional eating is, why you're doing it, and how you can start to ease out of that place of struggle. Okay, so how do you know you're in the right place? This not only goes for this talk, but pretty much the whole Live the Whole website. So if you're struggling with cravings, binge eating, overeating, or emotional eating, this is absolutely the place to get answers and resources. If you're worried you just don't have enough control or willpower with food, we will absolutely address those issues and help you with that. If you're sick of feeling confused or crazy about your eating, which I know so many of you are, and it's how I used to feel as well, so we are definitely going to talk about that and help you out there. And then basically, if you just want to stop the daily stress and uncertainty of emotional eating or binge eating or any type of eating that feels weird or out of control, that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. So this talk is going to address sort of the very basic whys. And then the rest of the content on the site is going to help you dig deeper into what's going on. But not only that, dig really deep into how to actually make sustainable changes that add up to a life with food that you actually love. So, who am I? My name's Sam, and I'm the owner, coach, counselor, helper at livethewhole.com. I have a Master of Arts. I'm a certified eating psychology coach. I have a diploma in clinical and pastoral counseling, so fairly well-rounded, and I specialize in helping women in particular overcome the struggles of emotional eating so that they can have a relationship with food that is just enjoyable, and easy and free. And I do this because emotional eating is something that I've definitely struggled with and have had huge amounts of success with. So I help other people to achieve that as well. So what are we going to talk about today? Today's talk's going to be pretty quick. It's just a sort of dip into what emotional eating is, why you're doing it, and then some very basic baby steps on how to get started stopping emotional eating. So the whole of Live the Whole is designed towards helping you get out of a negative relationship with food, out of emotional eating, out of binge eating, and into something that is calm, free, feels like it's sustainable for you. And this is just the first little intro into how you're going to do that. So let's jump in. Right, what is emotional eating? Now, you probably have a pretty good idea what it is for you. It's when you use food and eating to change your emotional experience. Your answer to that question might have been different. So when I said, what is emotional eating, you might have said, oh, it's my out of control eating. It's my comfort eating. It's what I eat when I'm angry. It's when I eat when I'm anxious. Or it's when I eat when I'm celebrating. I eat to reward myself. I eat because I feel joy. Those are all true. But underneath that base level experience, you're using food to change your emotional experience. You're angry, and you're either eating to express that anger or to calm it down. You're lonely, you're eating to feel comforted and like you're looking after yourself. So you're trying to change the feelings of loneliness to feelings of comfort. So what you're doing is you're eating to change your emotional experience. And that's really important to understand about most types of overeating and all types of emotional eating. It's usually not the food. I'll say it again because it's really important. When it comes to emotional eating, your problem is not the food. So, what is the problem? Why do you do it? Why are you emotional eating? And why is it so hard to stop? So why can you be, really accomplished, have great willpower, good relationships, a career you're proud of, like the rest of your life's going pretty well, but the eating, you can't get it. You try and you slip off the wagon. You try again with something else. It doesn't work. You can't hold on to the changes. It's not sustainable. And you tell yourself, oh, you failed again. It's really, really difficult because most of us have the wrong understanding about what's going on, and we go about changing it in ways that are really, really difficult. So today I'm going to present you with a different framework for thinking about how you go about change when it comes to emotional eating. It's much more easy and it's much more pleasurable and much more sustainable. Okay, so you look at this
why
photo.
do you emotionally eat?
If you imagine on the left side, the left hand rock there, before you emotionally eat, that's how you feel. Maybe you're bored, lonely, anxious, depressed, wanting to celebrate, feel like you deserve a reward. And then on the right hand side, that rock represents how you want to feel. You want to feel connected, taken care of, happy, relaxed, pleasurable, all those things that you want. So on the one hand is where you are, and then on the other side is where you want to be. And that hole in the middle represents your needs. And when it comes to emotionally eating, what you're doing is you're trying to fill that hole, or essentially bridge that gap between what you feel and what you want to feel with food. So you're trying to use food to get from angry to calm, lonely to connected, bored to stimulated. You're hoping and praying that the food will get you from one side to the other. So the key to ending emotional eating is on bridging that gap or filling that hole with different coping strategies. And now what most of us try to do is we think, okay, the problem's the food. I'm eating too much when I'm sad. The problem's the food. Let's get rid of the food. And so we take the food out of the hole, and then we're just left stranded on one side. We're left stranded on, let's say, the angry side. And we've got no way of bridging the gap. We're just left with that hole, and it's painful and it's difficult. And because of that, we eventually end up, caving in and putting the food back in the hole to try and get from one side to the other. My philosophy is, the way I think it's much more effective to work with emotional eating is to fill that hole up from underneath. So you work on identifying where you are, how you feel. You work on identifying how you want to feel through your eating. Then you begin to develop habits, coping strategies, self-care techniques that fill that hole from the bottom up. You almost ignore the food, especially to begin with, until you have filled that hole and the food almost just floats out the top. It's not needed anymore. And that habit becomes so much easier to change because you've already put into place techniques to take care of yourself, techniques to fill that hole or fill your needs. So you can now walk across a bridge of self-care or a bridge of pleasurable activities, hobbies, connection to get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's the whole philosophy behind healing emotional eating at Live the Whole. So, step one of that is identifying where you are and where you want to be. So what gap are you trying to bridge with food? So here are the 9 most common emotional eating needs. They are lonely, angry, bored, uncomfortable physically or mentally, unpleasured, physically or mentally, sad, tired, judged, and safe fell off the bottom of the screen. Sorry about that. So the 9th one is a need for safety. So maybe you feel insecure or unsafe. And on the other side of that table is how you perhaps want to feel. Now, this is very variable, and the way that you conceive of it might be different. But basically, you're trying to get from a state of discomfort to comfort or nourishment or fulfillment. Now, that's not to say we don't emotionally eat when we're feeling good, because we absolutely do. You might feel in need of reward or in need of celebration, and often in those cases we're eating to enhance those experiences. So you want to feel more, or you want to feel sustained, or you want to feel like you are adding on to those positive experiences. So these are just some of the more common negative ones. There are absolutely other needs and other feelings that lead to emotional eating. But if you imagine, for example, up the top there, lonely, you feel lonely now, you want to feel connected and heard, but that's not something you've been taught how to do in life, and it's not something you have readily available. You're using food to get from lonely to connected, or from uncomfortable to comfortable, and that's where the emotional eating problem is coming from. Okay, so how do you start to work with this? First of all, you want to start identifying where you are. Like, why are you trying to eat? Because that's the only way you can really start to fill that hole. So you want to maybe get out a journal or your phone, or just be really mindful before you feel you're about to emotionally eat, and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling that way? And how do I hope this food will make me feel? So with this question, you're really looking to figure out what the two sides of your gap are. And it's really good to do this before you eat, rather than as an abstract exercise. Do it at the time, because that's when it's real. That's when you're actually experiencing it. So if you can, just pause for a second before you eat emotionally, before you feel that kind of wave come over you of needing food. And ask yourself, what am I feeling in this moment? Like, hang on, you can eat in a second. I promise you can eat in a second, but how do you feel right now? Just jot down a couple of ideas. Why do you think you're feeling that way? What's happened, or what's going on that's contributed to that feeling? And then ideally, in a perfect world, after you eat your food, how do you want to feel? And those answers will give you some indication of what gap you're trying to bridge, or what emotions you're trying to get to by using food to fill the hole. So your next step is to start thinking about filling that hole. Once you've identified the hole, you want to start thinking about ways to fill your needs. So you can see here, let's say you paused before you ate emotionally. You identified you were feeling lonely, maybe because you hadn't spoken to your family lately. And the way you wanted to feel after you ate was connected. So you do this at a time when you're calm, not when you're about to emotionally eat. Do it at a time when you're feeling okay. And think about that gap between lonely and connected. If you didn't have food to fill that gap, what other things could you do? And there are some examples here on screen: calling a family member, messaging a friend, organizing a social event, just going out to a mall or coffee shop and being around other people, going for a walk with a friend, or writing someone a thank you letter, practicing a bit of gratitude. So in that way, you can look at how you feel, how you want to feel, and brainstorm some quick, easy ways to get from A to B without food. Here's another example if you're trying to get from stressed to relaxed, which is a super common one if you find yourself struggling with emotional eating in the evenings. If you're trying to get from stressed to relaxed, you can try meditation, you can try coloring, walking, dancing, going outside, taking more breaks throughout your day. These are just some very, very quick examples, and I'm sure you can come up with a lot more for yourself. Okay, so step 3 is actually doing some of your new coping strategies. So remember, during this time, you're not trying to do anything with your emotional eating, the actual food part of your emotional eating. You are trying to establish a regime of more supportive habits that over time take the place of food. But to begin with, just leave the food alone and it will take care of itself once you've got other things in place. So it's my suggestion that you choose just one baby step at a time and start to establish that as a habit. It's really common when you come across a new way of change or something new you want to try to jump right in and just immerse yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that, but often we really overreach and we don't set ourselves up for success because we promise ourselves we're going to make like 10 changes at once and completely transform our lives. And that is hard. Like, don't necessarily go about this the hardest way possible. Small, sustainable steps are what will really get you there, not giant life overhaul, like all in one shot steps. Yes, some people do that, but for most of us, it's a baby steps approach that will help. So, as I said, don't come at your eating head on. Don't look it in the eye. Just gently start to support yourself in a ton of other ways, one step at a time, and the eating will take care of itself. You want to build yourself such a solid foundation of self-care that your emotional eating just isn't needed anymore. And I can tell you from experience, over hundreds of client hours and my own experiences with my eating, that this is 100% possible, and it's so much more enjoyable and fun than trying to address the eating just for eating's sake, because emotional eating is not about the food. Okay, so some quick examples of baby steps. Yours could be different. The variations are infinite here. It really depends on you, your lifestyle, your family, your preferences, your culture, everything. But let's say you were trying to get from stressed to relaxed. A baby step you might try for a month, so it becomes a habit, is I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk every day at lunch, just to start getting a little bit more relaxation into your day. Another baby step. Well, for some people this is a baby step, for some people this would be huge and unsustainable, so whatever goes for you. I'm going to cook at home 3 nights a week. Maybe you've identified that nutrition is actually a need you have that you're trying to fill with your emotional eating. And that's something we're going to talk about a lot on the Live the Whole site, is if nutrition is tripping you up with your emotional eating. So maybe you decide to establish a baby step. I'm going to cook at home 3 nights a week for the next 2 months. And that's all I'm going to try and do and see what changes. And finally, again, maybe stressed to relaxed, I'm going to meditate using the Headspace app every morning for 5 minutes. So as you can see, these are not big changes. You're not trying to, go to the gym for an hour 5 days a week, or organize massive social get-togethers to feel more connected. You're just choosing really small things that almost feel effortless. And as you add them on top of each other over time, you start to notice big changes in your habits. It's like building a wall 1 brick at a time. You might not notice a difference of 1 brick every couple of weeks, but after a year, you've got an entire house. So that's the type of approach we're going for. So this is where your adventure begins. If you're ready, you can start exploring the rest of the resources on livethewhole.com. I've got pretty much everything you need to help you on your emotional eating journey. Everything from what's going on and why, through to filling your needs, whether they're nutritional, emotional, or pleasure related. And then a whole lot of individual topics as well, such as triggers, boundaries, emotional eating with anxiety or mental health issues. And there's also some books, ebooks, courses, challenges, and obviously working with me one-on-one is always an option as well. So in summary, 1, 2, 3 plus practice equals results. So 1, finding your need. 2, brainstorming ways to fill that need. 3, taking baby steps to fill those needs. And then continual practice of those baby steps will equal results, which is a huge, huge relaxation of your emotional eating urges. And as that relaxation happens, if there's anything else going on underneath or behind or around the emotional eating, you can really start to address those once the pressure is off with this filling the needs philosophy. Okay, and I just wanted to end on the idea that unwanted eating isn't a life sentence. A lot of people, when they find out what I do for a living, ask me if I think it's really possible to change eating habits and change beliefs and the relationship that they have with food. And I 100%, no doubt about it, say yes, absolutely. I've done it. I've spent hundreds of hours with clients helping them do it. And yes, you can definitely change your relationship with food to something that is happy, healthy, supportive, and most importantly, sustainable. So I just wanted to leave you with this positive idea that yes, you can do it. Yes, it will take practice. There will be mistakes. There will be a lot of mess or missteps along the way. But the more that you practice, the more that you keep trying, the further and further you get. So stick with it. Stick around livethewhole.com as we go through how to tackle different areas of emotional eating, and we'll get you where you want to go. Thanks so much for being here, guys. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.